I guess welcome to the podcast.
Welcome, everyone.
Liam, I appreciate we're here with Liam Jacobs' house. This is his equipment. Without him right now, this wouldn't be possible. Welcome, and thank you for the first show here, Liam.
It's not really much, man, but we're out here, we're doing our thing. I think our levels are looking great, so that's a good start.
It's getting us somewhere. Might as well just dive in head first.
Where do you want to start, brother?
I guess I was we'll talk about just a little monologue here. I don't know. I felt recently in the past half a year, 6 months, I kind of got into podcasting a little bit and the idea of it, and honestly, I was moved by it. I got inspired, and I kind of liked the idea of what spoken word does, not like, because in this world, not like you got to think something and it's a direct relationship to speaking it. So not only has podcasting been an exercise for me being able to communicate to other people, but I like a lot of the ideas that come up. So basically I just started this to, if I can inspire anyone, makes anyone learn something, or translate to anyone some type of happiness, joy, and help them progress in life. That's essentially what I'm here for. I'm just doing this for fun.
That's a great reason to start. I would say also too, a big thing with it, just in general, just having conversations where you might not exactly talk about something that you wouldn't talk about normally without starting the conversation is also like a really big thing. I think that people tend to, in public settings, kind of limit themselves on what they can talk about and what they feel like is comfortable or acceptable to talk. But any topic really is fair game, and as long as you have the right views about it and you're keeping a level head and being respectful to the other parties within the conversation, I don't see why anything should be like as something that's it's off limits to talk about this or that. Like religion, for example, or for politics is a big thing that people say, don't talk about politics because it's gonna cause an argument or whatever. It's bullshit.
No, absolutely. I keep going on, but part of it is too, after starting to listen to podcasts, and it's just such a unique form, like you rarely in your day-to-day life, you never actually sit just down with someone and just go deep on a topic. Most of the shit and conversations and interactions we have with people, it's a couple minutes at a clip. You rarely are able to sit down, even all over society, whether it's like the news or anything. You're just not able. People don't get that constant stream, and they can't really fully work to develop and talk about a point that they're feeling. Along with that, once I started getting into podcast and appreciating that aspect of it, I got fucking so sick of talking to just some shallow-minded people who, like the cliche goes, were just waiting for their turn to talk, or not even engaging what I was saying. So it really just got, part of it was just like a boiling point where I was like, fuck this, man. I want to sit down with some cool people one-on-one who I feel have something beneficial to say, and just dive in, whether it's 1, 2, 3, however long it takes. Just work shit out. And it's really like this podcast. I don't intend for it to be about anything specific. I just plan on bringing the most interesting people I know on, and just letting it unfold in itself.
Yeah, I mean, that's really, I think the best way to do it. I don't think that, going out and trying to be like, I'm going to get this guest or that guest on it. Really, the great thing about podcasts, too, is that anybody can start one, and anybody can share the stories of someone around them. Like, if you see somebody that's like, that's a story. Like, I meet people all the time where it's like, that's a story that needs to be heard. Like, somebody needs to tell that story, and they're just not, they don't go out of their way in their life to try to express what's going on with them. But it's a great way for people like that, where, like, it's not somebody that would ever think they could go do a podcast or something like that, but they're like your friend, and they have a good story to tell, so you say, hey, let's hang out, whatever, and you don't even have to make it about the podcast. Just say, hey, let's hang out and have a conversation.
No, to me that's what it was about, because I was wrestling with the idea for a while about doing it, but what you just said hit it on the head in terms of just like
people need to tell their story.
Like, dude, I could give a fuck if one person listened to this right now. I plan on sitting down with some people and having a one-on-one conversation and diving into some shit that on, like I said, on a day-to-day basis, you don't do that. You just don't do long-form conversations. You get 2 or 3 minutes max of hearing people from the news or your favorite sports figure. Like, whether I have anyone fucking important in my life on, I could care less. I really like the idea. Like I said, just
right. And even if people are like, even if you're out, like, I don't know, I see this a lot. I go out with a group of friends or whatever, and 75% of the people out there are fucking just sitting on their phones and just texting other people. Like, I don't know, I don't think that it should come to the point where we need to sit down and have a recorded conversation that, like, that makes you talk and put down your phone. Like, I'm more apt to put down my phone when I'm in a group setting than I am if I'm in something like this. Like, this makes me nervous, so I'm more apt to pick up my phone in this kind of situation and be like trying to get away. But like in a public setting, I feel like people are most prone to just pull out their phone and just start texting or doing whatever. And I don't even think that they're actually doing something serious. I feel like they're literally just using it as a way to fucking like escape, you know what I mean, like hide their head in their phone.
I really think I'll just dive right the fuck in, getting some woo woo shit. But I think in the world we live in, 2018, it's I'm one of these people that subscribes to the idea of us being primates. Like, at the end of the day, we're just monkeys. Totally. And I feel like a big aspect of the whole thing is the fact that we have these urges and these beliefs that just run through us biologically, and in the world we live in today, we're so removed by them. So like you said, there's no reason we should have to do this. But no. Also on the same side of the coin, it's like we have to. Yeah. I can't go almost anywhere with just thinking about all right, I'm talking to this person and they could give a flying fuck what I'm saying right now. But no, I really subscribe to that idea of I live a lot of my life by that. Okay, what is evolution designed us to do? And a lot of these things that I think we used to be hundreds and thousands of years ago really in tune to in terms of our bodies and other people and the connection you feel, I think we lost a lot of that.
Oh, yeah. And I mean, it continues to spiral down even further. I mean, as time continues and more technology comes about and different things come around that people are using, it's becoming more and more like the only way you meet people is through a form of technology, or the only way you're starting an event or doing something, you have to, I have to go through a phone, or I have to do something to go get this group of people together or something like that. And like I said, it's like they're at the bar with a group of people that they intended to be with at that setting, and then they're calling other people to come and join them. If those other people either wanted to be there or you wanted them to be there, they would have been there already. So why are you why can't we as a society sit down? And I mean, I see this as a Freemason and as somebody who goes to an organized meeting where it's literally supposed to be just people sitting down and having a conversation. I see that even in Masonry. And Masonry has become so much more about I'm gonna sit down and try to make this connection with this person instead of just having a normal conversation with them and just talking about whatever we talked about in the meeting or whatever it may be. They're like, well, what can I get from you, or what can I get out of you? They don't sit down and say, how was your day today? What did you do today? Did you enjoy your day? It's like, oh, what do you do? What do you do for work? How much do you make?
I feel like almost people get annoyed by that idea of what do you do, but to me, I feel bad asking it because I know people get annoyed. But when I ask something like that, like you were saying, I want to engage with the person. Let me get something out of you. Let me learn something. What do you see? How do you see what's going on right now? So a lot of this is this is why we're here. You know what? Like going back to that. That's why we're here. I wanna hash out some stuff with people and find out what people got.
Yeah, and I don't see anything. I'm not saying I don't see anything wrong with, asking or talking to somebody about what they do. I think it's more like when you go into something or you join a person in some type of relationship with the intent or expect of receiving something either monetarily beneficial or just generally going into a relationship to expect to receive some benefit from it. That's a bad thing to go into a relationship expecting, because you're not, pretty much automatically you're going to be disappointed. Like, if you go in with this expectation that I'm going to get this or I'm going to receive this just because I'm going out of my way to spend time with that person, you're just setting yourself up for failure. Instead of saying, I want to go work hard to try to do something or do this, or specifically, instead of saying, oh, well, you have this job and you make X amount of dollars a year, get me a job and get me in here and help,
Give me XYZ.
As much as it may be, oh, help me out, buddy, get me a job, it's not real. There's more to that, and there's underlying things within that conversation that is not strictly like, you're a human being, I'm a human being, you seem nice, I want to talk to you and have a conversation.
No, I agree.
It's not. It goes further than that.
So you touched on I'm gonna pry a little bit here. I know you can. I know. I see that grin. You probably already know what I'm going into. But what can you say about the Masons? You mentioned you're a Freemason. How'd that come about? What's involved, as much as you can say?
I can say a lot. I mean, really, everybody thinks we're a secret society, but we're just a society with secrets. That's the biggest thing. I mean, Masonry is what we base everything off of goes back to one of the oldest allegories in all of history, and that's the building of King Solomon's temple.
Okay.
And so everything that's based on the teaching, and this is not like I'm giving up a secret of Masonry and they're gonna come find me and kill me. Like, anyone can go look this up, anybody can go find it, but the building of King Solomon's temple was what we base our allegory off of, or the main tale of what Masonry is about. And really, to basically sum up a long story into a couple of seconds, the story is just based on the builder of the temple, the master mason, telling the lower masons that when you work hard and you earn what you'll get, I'll give you this master mason's word, and I'll basically make you a master mason, which will allow them to travel and get better wages and earn more money and, stuff like that, and just be able to leave and not be apprenticing anymore as a mason in the times where masonry was like strictly, I'm saying, laying stones and bricks and stuff like that. So he had told all the what are called fellowcraft masons, which is below a master mason, that I will give you the word of a master mason, and I'll let you travel as master masons and work as master masons after we finish building this temple. So, all the fellowcraft masons were working, but not, and 3 of the fellowcraft masons, who were all brothers, decided that, well, we're gonna go up and confront Hiram Abiff, who is the master mason of King Solomon's temple, and confront him and basically tell him, well, we're going to kill you unless you give us this word. So that's what they did. They confronted him, and he wouldn't give it up. And that was his thing, that he told them, I wasn't going to give you this until I'm done. So that's my word, and I'm telling you, I'm not going to give you this, or, you're not going to earn this until X is done.
So they wanted that freedom before they were done.
Right, they wanted to travel and make more money. That's before they finished what he said they needed to finish. And so they killed Hiram Abiff because they told him they were going to kill him. And it got to the point where, I don't know, I wasn't there, but, they were obviously crazy, or there's something wrong with them, and they decided to kill him for the word of a master mason because he wouldn't give it up. And so the allegory of all of Masonry really is based on the fact that he was so true to his word that he wouldn't give it up, that he would rather have them kill him before he gave up his word. So just like I would rather give you my life before I gave up the true word of a Master Mason, which really isn't the true word anymore, because with that story that goes along with it, the true word of a Master Mason would have never been spoken unless in the presence of the three people that were given the Master's word, which is supposedly given from God. So Hiram Abiff, King Solomon, and King Solomon's second, or like right-hand man, they all had to be together to say this true word of a Master Mason. So when Hiram Abiff died, that word was totally wiped out of history. It could never have been said again because the three of them weren't present. So then we've created, based on that allegory, our own Master Mason's word and everything related to that. But that's really the main thing with Masonry is just like being true to who you are and telling the truth and being honest with people and being good to people and respecting people, because you realize that at the end of the day, a big thing, as far as symbolism that goes in Masonry is we talk about being on the level. So the level is an instrument used to keep level, like you would use in your house or whatever to hang a picture. But the level is we are all on this level. That everyone on this earth is on the level. We're all human beings. We're all born into this world, and we're all gonna die. So we're all on the level. We're all gonna go to the same place. We're all the same. Whether you have $1 billion and I have 10 cents to my name, or whatever, we're all on the level, and we're all gonna die. And I think that's like the biggest thing that I've taken from Masonry is like, never treat somebody in a different way just based on the fact that, this person's sitting in the street begging for money, or this person has a nice car and a nice house. The guy that has the nice house and the nice car may not be any better morally or responsibly than the guy sitting on the corner begging for money. So you can't treat anybody, just because somebody dresses different or whatever.
So the level is essentially from what you're saying, correct me if I'm wrong, it's almost like we all start in the same.
That's the level. That's what in the old terms of Masonry. For all the podcast listeners out there, I'm showing him my ring right now, which is a Masonic ring that contains two symbols: the level and the trowel. Which the trowel is another symbol related to Masonry. I won't go into that one, but the level is, if you look up an old image of a level, that's what we're looking at right now.
And so essentially what I'm gathering for what you're saying, correct me if I'm wrong, the level is, it's the idea that, okay, we're not all going to travel the same path here, but we're going to all start on the same starting line, and we're going to all roads are.
We are all born, and we will all die. We are all born, and we will all die.
So it's ideals then.
It's basically like just because it's just like the idea, the main idea. What I interpret from it and around the idea of the level is that we are all humans. We're all the same. You and I are made of the exact same stuff.
Yeah.
And if you cut me, I'm going to bleed red. If I cut you, you're going to bleed red. We're all the same. So just because somebody is down on their luck, or because somebody's up on their luck, doesn't mean you treat them any different. I treat everybody the same way as another human being. You know what I mean? Not a lot of people take it that way, and people interpret it in their own ways, but
It's funny that you ended up in that. I mean, I know.
Yeah.
Well, what your dad and your grandfather were one, correct?
Right.
But and when did you join?
When I turned 18.
Okay, and is that the initiation?
That's when you're legally, according to Masonic law, allowed to join Masonry.
Okay, it's funny. I don't know if you're the ideals came from your dad as a kid at how young, but it's funny you say that because ever since I've known you, we've known each other since 6th grade, 5th grade or 6th grade. And to me, you've always kind of shown that. Whether you're talking to someone in class or you're talking to the teacher, to me, it's funny you say that because now, looking back, it's this kid, whether he was in it or not at the time, like I said, whether your dad passed those ideals on, it makes me realize, you might have, been ready for it because you always
know. I think it's dude, it's anything, you know what I mean? I think that that's just, you don't have to be a Mason to have that ideal, or like
no.
Like, I think everybody should have that.
And I'm
mindset.
not saying that I do my best to live like that every single day too, but I just think it's kind of funny how you like looking back, even in looking back on memories in fifth and sixth grade. It's like it's almost like you were in it the whole time, because you've always, you know, better than a lot of people I know have displayed that character of, whether I'm talking to an adult, whether I'm talking to someone at the store, whether I'm talking to a best friend. Like, it just all seems like you said, level. It literally, it's level. It's everything is level who I'm approaching.
And like, it's hard. Like, that's a really hard thing to do. Like, I think that a lot of times I find myself, I'll be like, oh, that guy's an asshole, or that guy's this, whatever, and I have to remember, like, he's just a person like me, you know what I mean? Like, that's a really, like, I think I've always kind of had that mentality just in general, just growing up with a family that's like more like open and not like really like, oh, you're this or you're that, so we don't want to talk to you. So I think that is part of the reason why I kind of have that. But like, I've always just, you know what I mean? I've always thought it's like I said, like, everybody's the same. Like, it doesn't matter to me whether you are super wealthy and you're in some famous, you know, whatever, or you're a bum on the street. Like, you are a person just like me, and you can go through the same things that I go through. And I think you kind of have to realize that at a point where, like, if you're ever like really pissed off about something, or you're ever like, you're seeing somebody and you're like, damn, like, that guy's an asshole, or like, what a bum, you know, like, just sitting in the street. Like, it could be you any day of the week.
Oh, absolutely.
Any day of the week, that could be you sitting there on the street begging for money. And just like in the same thing, that could be you at the, you know, being in charge of Fortune 500 company and screwing people over and being a bad person. Not necessarily that everybody in charge of business is a bad person, but
no, it's
you know what I mean? Like, it can go either way so fast that you don't even realize, and you kind of have to like get that. Like, some people just act a certain way just because they're human and they can't control it. Like,
well, it's fucking hard for people, and I feel like a lot of it is the society you live in. Like, it's like that thing, like, oh, show your elders respect. But no, show everyone fucking respect. And
doesn't matter.
I've come into this thing probably over the past 6 months. I started looking at, it just really came about, and I don't know how, but one day I just realized, like, grown-ups, or like, I don't know how to explain this, grown-ups are just kids. Like, I look at you the same way I look at kids and grown-ups from work. Like, these people, I'm realizing it's like, okay, so you said, like, we'll use the example like you said of that quote-unquote asshole. So where I see like an asshole, in my opinion, I think that comes from like holes in people. Like, you were
something or whatever.
You were abused as a kid. You were mistreated, or you had a shit draw. And now I'm just seeing, like, okay, while you can see that at someone that's 20 years old, like, oh man, this guy was abused as a kid. I've come into this thing where, like, I'm working in the workforce now, what I guess you could call corporate America. So I'm working with all middle to older age people, 40, 50 years old, and like, I'm able to look at these people that same way I would be able to look at you, or the same way I'd be able to look at someone from high school, as in, like, okay, this guy had like maybe a shit luck of the draw. He was abused. He was yelled at. He was hit as a kid. But I'm realizing now, I'm like, just because you're 50, like, they're 50 years old, that doesn't make everything they do acceptable. And I'm able to see, like, oh, okay, maybe this like stems from something else. Maybe there's like a reason this guy can't stop. Like, this, I'll give an example. The guy, my supervisor at work is just a fucking one-upper to a T. I don't know if for anyone that doesn't know what that is, a one-upper, if Liam said that he climbed to the top of Mount Everest, I would tell him that I climbed to the fucking top of a mountain that was taller than that. And that's how this guy is. So, like, I'm just like, I realize it's like, through this new scope that I've been able to look through, it's just like, okay, like, maybe this guy had something go on, or just he had this bad tendency as a kid that he nor anyone else ever bothered to help him out with. So, like, that, like, going back to that level, it's like I'm looking at everyone like you're my age.
Yeah,
you know,
yeah.
I guess the best way to put it. While
Yeah.
that may not be considered level, to me, like, if you're my age, I can tell you anything and we could talk about anything.
Right.
So, but I'm able to look at everyone that way, and I can honestly say, like, some of the conversations I've had have been better with people, and I'm not nearly as timid to go right into something or hashing something. Like, like I said, I'm talking to someone my age because I don't know where it came from. I really don't. But, like, and I'm not bullshitting. It's just like this thing came up and I'm just like, dude, like, I don't have, like, that old thing, no one ever has their life together. Essentially is
True.
That's what it is. Like, I'm realizing everyone is just like, everyone is that 15, 16-year-old you knew. They're just like, they have a different body. Like, no one knows what they're doing in this fucking rock hurling through space.
No.
They're just fucking doing their best. So that kind of goes back to that level idea.
And it's like like I said, like, for me, if and I don't claim to be perfect or right about anything, but, like, for me, if I ever catch myself where I'm like, oh, like, that was a little too far, that's, like, for me, it's just an easy thing to be like, oh, let me take a step back and let me think about this for a second. Like, you know what I mean? Like, this guy's a person, I'm a person. I know I've fucked up before and I've done some dumb shit or whatever it is, or I've done something wrong or handled the situation in probably not the best way that I could have handled it. And I just think, well, you know, shit, that could have been me. I could have made that same mistake and treated somebody that way in the past. And you just gotta realize, like, nothing is really worth, like, especially things that like actions of others. Like, the big thing for me was realizing, like, I can't control any actions of what other people do. The only actions that I can control is my own. And once you realize that, you feel so much more empowered. I apologize. We've got some calls coming in. We've got viewers that are trying to get in on the
lines
pod.
are already hot. We're not even finished the first podcast.
Oh boy!
Again, my oh my.
I'm sorry. There are people trying to get on the podcast as we speak.
But no, I
hot topics going on.
I get what you're saying. I just, to me, I call it in my head, like, the way to put it in words is giving people the benefit of the doubt.
Yeah,
when you're in traffic and some asshole cuts you off, your immediate reaction is to want to just bug out. But, like, a lot of the times I just, like, for me, it's a good exercise. If I bug out immediately, there's something wrong for me. And I stop and I say to myself, I go, yo.
Yeah, what's going on
hold up,
in my head?
Why is there a need to react this way to something so minuscule? And then from there, it's just like, this guy, like, you don't know. His baby could be being delivered, or his mom could be dying in the hospital. You know, people
fucking knows,
people are so quick to jump to just that fucking conclusion or be dicks right away. And I like I said, that's going back to kind of like the symptom of the society that we live in, of just like why, like, we're so out of tune with the idea that really what it is. I feel like, as primates we might have been, or just years ago, without all this technology and these distractions and this and that, we would have just been more in tune. Okay, Liam sits down and I'm immediately just aware of his presence and there's something wrong with him or something. Like, I just think it's like kind of a symptom of the society that we live in, being, for lack of, like, we're sick, you know, and there's something that needs to be worked out in us.
Well, I think as a society we definitely are sick, for sure. I mean, like, if we think that going to the doctor and putting somebody on, 9 different medications to calm them down because they're upset about something in their life, that's not how you can handle a problem or solve a problem whatsoever.
No, I think there's a lot to be said about that, but it's just like in the society. I think we're sick, but I really think that. All right, so I'll hash this out. I go to the idea of, like, all right, humans are thousands and thousands of years old. Right. We've gotten to this point in society where we've lived so long, and we're at this age that we've never been in before. You have people are constantly, their faces are in screens. They're driving around in cars. They're flying around in there. Like, this is something that only in the past, like, 300 years of the world that this is getting into. So I really think that while we may be, like, air quotes, sick right now, I think part of it is us learning as a species, getting, like, this is the learning curve. Mm-hmm. This is the learning curve of fucking Facebook, Twitter, cars, airplanes, Tesla, flying 200 miles an hour. You know what I mean? Like, boats, all this stuff. Like, I think this is us as a whole, like humanity as a whole, getting used to this. And I really do believe it's, you could, like, whether you're optimistic or pessimistic about it, I'm obviously optimistic. I think that, like, on the other side of it, when we live to incorporate this and work out these bugs, that we're just going to be better as a society and learn to live with this without wars and without hating each other and without Democrats and without Republicans and everyone constantly being at each other's throats. Like, it's there's a reason it's called outrage culture that we live in, because people want to just jump off the trigger. And I just really, really believe that, like, it's just a symptom. This is something we've never ever dealt with in the history of mankind, as far as we know. So, part of me, it's like, what do you expect? What do you expect from humans? Yeah,
and I think especially too, as a younger generation going forward, we really, I mean, especially our age group, we were the first kind of generation that really grew up with technology. Yeah. As far as, like, it always, like, I can remember being extremely young and, having a computer game or something to play.
Cradle to grave.
Like. Yeah, and it's that's something that no one, has ever experienced before. And just the effect of being connected 24/7 from the time you're young has an effect on you, whether you realize it or not. I witnessed the terrorist attacks on. We're just blowing up, guys. I'm sorry.
The lines are hot.
They're hot, but I witnessed with my own eyes the terrorist attacks on 9/11. I was not in New York City. I was nowhere even close to New York City, but I witnessed with my own eyes that horrific event. And that's something that you have to take into account. Every day that something happens, things happen all over the world, but this is the first generation where we're witnessing in real time everything that's happening.
Yeah, that kind of pisses me off about this whole, like, shitting on millennials thing. Okay, like, first off, without even without even technology being brought into the picture. Okay, no matter if it's Generation X, baby boomers, millennials, whoever, they always shit on the generation to follow them. So that
everybody does.
We'll get that out of the way. Like, but in terms of, like, the technology coming in as a factor, it's like, what do you expect us to do? You know what I mean?
I don't know.
No one. This is something technology, like you said, we are the first in our lifetimes. I'm 21 years old, and for the sake of argument, I've lived with this as far as I know and can remember for my whole life. So it's like, if you gave it's like if you gave someone a drug, okay, it was just invented. You know what it does, but you don't know biologically how it affects the body
for long term, rather.
And then you go, and then they start tweeting at each other and talking about eating ass, and there's little Xan pump, all this shit. And you yell at them for that. Yeah. It's like, well, what do you expect from us? Could you? We don't know if you could have done. For all we know, we're doing the best we can, and we're doing the worst we can. Yeah. So it's like, we're like, give us a break and just let humanity, like, work it out. It hasn't even been what? We'll say 90s. Yeah. Like early 90s.
I mean, even I know I was born in 96, and when we really, like, I really started feeling connected to the internet not until, like, early 2000s, I would say.
And like, the genesis of that, we'll say even still, like, if you peg it on 1990, 20 years, like, 30 years.
Yeah.
We're at 30 years. We're coming up on 30 years. Like, that's 30 years is fucking nothing.
Nothing, yeah.
Nothing. Like, give it 100 years and, like, give it 100 years, give it 200 years and see how society is able to better interact with each other and with this monster that
that was already been created.
That's a big, I didn't mean to say monster.
No, it is a monster.
I disagree.